Hello everyone, today I'm here to review for you Next Station Tokyo. This is the brand new sequel to Next Station London, another flip and write game in this series from Matthew Dunstan. So you're aware this was provided to me for this review, but let's go roughly through how the game plays and then I'll give you some pros and cons about Next Station Tokyo. In Next Station Tokyo, everyone is going to get one of these map sheets and one of 4 coloured pencils. But that's just what you start with in the round, because let's say there's 4 players, each of you is going to have 1 coloured pencil, and at the end of that round you're going to pass them clockwise round the table. Now if you don't have full 4 players, you're just going to have some pencils in the gaps between the players, so by the end of the game, each round you'll use 1 colour, and at the end you'll have used all 4 colours, because you are drawing in and creating the coloured routes, in this case, around Tokyo. The way this works is there's a deck in the middle that's been shuffled. You're going to turn the top card of that over, and then that is the symbol of the station that you're allowed to go to next. Let's say this is at the beginning of the game and you've got the blue pencil, and the thing that's turned over is a pentagon. Well, you can choose whether to draw straight up to the sort of from your starting location to a pentagon, or across left to a pentagon. They're your 2 options. Now the other players starting with the different coloured pencils, they're going to have different options available to them. And what you're going to want to do is try and go out to stations that don't limit your options too much. So when the next shape is revealed, I can't draw it because I can't link to, or I don't want to link to, any triangle stations. And you're sort of creating this one line. There are a few special cards, however. One of them allows you to split and branch your metro path rather than it just being a one continuous line. And there's another, which is, or 2 that are wilds, which allow you to go to any shape. And in this game, even allow you to go along a previous bit of line that's been used for a different colour, including the green one, which is already there at the start of the game. Shuffled into the deck are 5 of these green cards. Once they are revealed, all 5 have been revealed, then the round is over once you've actually drawn to that sort of station if you wanted to. At that point, it's time to score up for that round, pass your pencil on, and then go for the next round, shuffling that central deck again. So during the game, you're going to be scoring each round, and the way that works is you work out how many of the regions of the player sheet you've sort of taken that one line to that you've just been drawing. So you work out how many areas, then in one area, whichever's got the most, how many stations are in it. So you times those 2 numbers together. Let's say you've gone through 5 areas and one of them has 3, that's the highest amount in any of the areas. You times the 5 by the 3 for 15 points for that round. That's not a bad score for that one. At the end of the game, there's also other scoring. So once you've done the 4 rounds, done all of their scorings, you come on to the end game scorings. One of these is called the tourist stamp. So basically in certain areas, if you manage to do an interchange, which is one sort of station having 2 different lines come into it, if you do those in sort of the edges around the area, then you get to shade in areas. The further away those regions are, it's normally for more points. So it's like 5 just around the middle sort of octagon, and then the very corners, they're worth 10 if you manage to do that, which is quite hard. Next, you'll earn points based again on those interchanges if you've managed to get one with 3, 4 or even 5 different lines going into one. That's only now possible because of that new wild that allows you to go along where somewhere's been before. But there's a lot of points on offer for those. Again, they're not always the easiest thing to do though. In Next Station London, there was the Thames, which gave you bonus points. In Tokyo, there is the green line, but it's not giving you bonus points. Instead, for every station that's on the green line that you haven't managed to connect up to a different coloured line by the end of the game, that's -3 points. To combat that though, hopefully, if you are playing with the shared objectives, they're worth 10 a pop, though that's a sort of an advanced module, and we'll come on to that later in the review. So that's roughly how the game plays. On a round, you're using one coloured pencil, hopefully connecting to the things that are flipped from the deck. You're drawing out that route across as many areas as possible while trying to get a lot of stations in one area for big points for a round, but also you're trying to connect near the edges as well as the green stations effectively that are on the green line, because you'll either get points or not lose points for doing that. And well, you may or may not have objectives in the mix. And whoever has the most points wins. And it's actually a very simple game, despite the rulebook looking like this. Yes, it's a bit of a painful rulebook, so let's start there. I think the issue is not necessarily the size of this thing, it's kind of just the layout. It's messy in terms of hard to follow through, and you're constantly trying to flick through this to try and find the right sort of bend that you were looking for that one rule, just as a clarification. When a rule book that you would flick through normally, I think it would just make it feel easier, even if actually you're spending as long flicking through. And I don't think it necessarily takes up more or less space in the box, so it seems an unusual one for the rulebook. It does, however, have a number of examples and stuff, sort of when it's introducing everything. This is, there's a picture next to it and this is an example of how that scores, how this scores. And I do really like that part about the rulebook. It's just, when you have a question, trying to go and find the answer, it can be a bit painful as you're, which side was this on? It's an odd one, but I have to sort of say it's a pretty poor design of the rulebook, even if the actual rules written is pretty good. Much like Next Station London, I really do enjoy the core gameplay of this. The fact that each round you have a different coloured pencil and you are going to be drawing out that line. And if you draw that line out in a certain way, it might make it super hard for you later on to build out, I've done this great brown route, but it's kind of gone across where the pink route normally looks like it should be going. So I'm going to have to get really lucky with what's coming out of the deck when I'm playing with that pink pencil. Otherwise, I'm going to have a very short and not very scoring pink route. And there have been times where we've got to the end of a round and it's been like, I've got like 3 or 4 stations connected. But I did do really well on an earlier round. So you do have to pay attention to where you think you might be blocking, and often, right, I can go to, say, one of these 2 places. Which one is actually opening up opportunities for me? If I go to this circle, well, I have to have a triangle next. If I go to this circle, I could have a triangle, a square, or even another circle. So go over there, and it means the chances of your shape coming out the deck are much higher. There's also a really nice sort of change from one round to the next. When those 5 station cards have come out, that round is over. And that does mean that one round is going to be so much shorter normally than another. Or maybe they're all middly lengths. We've literally had it, you've shuffled the deck, and those 5 station cards have just all come out. We've seen none of the normal pink coloured cards, and it's like, wow, that's a really short bit of underground. And then the next round, it's like, the last card is that final green one, and it just means that the round they can feel super different. And at times you're like, that's come out like a really bad time for me. I had loads of room for this one to carry on. But you've just got to work with what the deck gives you, just like in any roll and write, or flip and write in this case. If you're not going to like that though, if you're liking sort of a defined length to a round, then that's not going to be for you. But it's cool having to be like, right, the end could come at any moment. I need to try and just get to that area to make this interchange over here. I've made that interchange and it's not ended. I've maybe actually caused myself a problem here. And always it comes down to, you've made problems for yourself, by going to a station that you maybe shouldn't have and you pushed your luck. But I like that about this game. And I also like the fact that this does feel quite different. It feels a little bit harder than Next Station London, despite certainly, and we'll come on to one of the expansion modules in a second that can help throw points at you, and it opens things up a little bit more. But the core game of Next Station Tokyo does feel a little bit harder. In London you had the Thames River and that gave you points, and it didn't really give you anything to work around other than if you go underneath it you'll get points. That's cool. In this you've got the green line already there. It's a massive obstacle that you've got to work around, and you've got to work around it in some way because it's gonna lose you points for the stations on it if you don't connect them up. So you've kind of got, in the original, you've got this sort of thing in the terrain, that map, that's going to give you points, and in Tokyo, that same sort of thing that's already there every game, that's potentially losing you points. So it feels, just from that point of view maybe, that it's harder, because you've automatically got to do something to not lose points, rather than have a sort of an opportunity to just gain some little points for going under a river. You might vibe with one or the other, and maybe that's hopefully going to help you decide which version would be for you. Next Station Tokyo also has a couple of little expansions. They're very micro, mini expansion sort of things. So the first one is shared objectives. These are just little cards that you're going to shuffle, pick a couple of and put them out. And they kind of go with what you want to do anyway. So it would be like, right, during the game, if you do manage to get to all of the 8 green stations, have 10 bonus points. Or you manage to do an interchange with 4 routes. First of all, well played to you, because I think I've only ever done it once. You've managed to do that, have 10 points. But you always kind of want to do those things anyway, because like for that interchange, that will be getting you 30 points. If you get to all of the green stations, you're not losing all of those -3 points. But it just means that from one game to the next you are dragged a little bit one way or another. But I maybe would have liked to have seen them drag you a little bit further away from kind of what you were doing anyway. Like maybe just have, you know, maybe that thing gives you +1 point for each green station that's not been connected. Well, alright, that's not a great thing because you're still losing points, but I don't know, then it might be alright, oh, in this game I don't care about connecting the green as much. I just think that could be cool, but that's a little module that you can just throw in and it gives you some more points, or potential of more points, because those objectives aren't necessarily too easy. The other mini expansion, which I think most people are going to find a bit more fun, are sort of station powers. So there's a little deck of blue cards and orange cards. You flip them over as a pair and it will tell you, like, right, in this round the pentagons are splits. So whenever a pentagon is flipped over, it doesn't need that split to have been turned over from the deck. You can just draw off to another pentagon. That's quite freeing, and it certainly allows you to build out. It does feel like you're drawing more when you're using these because of that one. There's also like another one which is a double station. So when you're counting of how many stations in an area to times up by the number of areas, that one counts as 2. I've not always managed to get it in the right place to help me, but there's the opportunity for it just to add that 1 extra to those round scorings. And I think once you've played 1 or 2 games of this, you're going to be using those pretty much every single time, and they are definitely sort of a lot of fun. And they just, again, make each round a little bit different because you don't know which pairing of shape and power is going to come out. So yeah, really like those, but I think most people will just play with them probably after that first game. So overall, I've really enjoyed my time with Next Station Tokyo. Let's answer the question that I think most people want to know. Should I get this over the original? I think the original is a little easier and a little more intuitive for a brand new player. It sort of just gets the table, it's Still has a slight slowness to the scoring at the very end of the game, but I think the original one is just that bit easier and a bit more forgiving, because like instead of losing points in this one for the not getting the green stations, you're going to gain points if you go under the Thames. So if you're brand new, then maybe the London one is a little bit easier. This one just has a few more things for you to think about. Out of the two, I prefer these powers of the stations to the pencil powers in the original. I think it just integrates a little bit better. You're always using those cards. So I think for me, it's pretty much, if you're wanting the game to be easy to play straight away with brand new players, go for London. If you want a little bit more to it, go for Tokyo. I'm not 100% sure yet which one's going to stay in the collection, because they are very, very similar. But there you have it. Slightly easier, London. A little bit more to it, Tokyo. Hopefully it'll help you decide. Anyway, this has been my review of Next Station Tokyo. Hope you've enjoyed. Let me know if you've played it in the comments section below. And until next time, have a Next Station good day.